that got me choking a little bit. Ooh, 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 we're waiting for 1 or 2 people to join us. Ooh, 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 ooh. We're gonna wait for 5 minutes, see who joins us, and then we're going to start with the live. Pagode Pasya Timahi Dioyona Prajo Daya Om Pu Puba Swaha Om Pu Puba Swaha Om Pu Puba Swaha. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. We're just waiting for 1 or 2 more people to join us. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. We're just waiting 5 minutes. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. If you have any issues with the audio, let me know. Okay. We have 1.5 minutes left before we start. Just 1.5 minutes left before we start the live. Om Pu Bhasva Om Pu Bhasva Om Pu Bhasva Om Pu Bhasva Om Pu Bhasva. We're starting now in 30 seconds. Om Pu Bhasva Tatsabrituvare Enium. This number is by Galim. I think the album is Lemon and Soul or something along those lines. And this track that I'm singing is a mantra, is a Sanskrit mantra, right? because y'all know I ain't rigid like that, okay? And it's the welcoming of um, the light of the world, which Christ is. All right. So we may have different names for him. We may see him differently, but he's Christ to all of us. All right. We may know him by different names, but he's the great light of the world. In him we live and move and have our being. God is not angry at you. Okay. This is my message for today. God is not angry at you. God is not angry at us. God is not angry with humanity. There might be some elements of anger with God. There might be some elements of anger. God might be angry with regards to the evil that is, prevailing in the world. God might be angry with regards to the suffering of his children. God might be angry with regards to the oppression that the narcissistic dark matrix is putting his children through. But God is not angry at his children. God understands what we are dealing with. God knows. And this is not me trying to make an excuse for you. Please understand that. This is not me trying to make an excuse for humanity or for anyone. This is me sharing the message that I really do believe it does come from God. I am sharing this message to you because, I've dealt with many people, as you know, in my spiritual practice. If you don't know, I do have a spiritual practice. And so I deal with people, many people from all walks of life. The other day I was actually thinking, I think it was yesterday, I was thinking about the fact that, some of the people that I deal with are people that work in, secret services for different governments. And these people would be telling me about what they are going through, some of the challenges that they have to deal with as human beings and having to do the work that they have to do. As you know, some of these roles require you to literally kill other human beings. And some of the people that I've spoken to have expressed a deep concern with regards to their colleagues who somehow seem to be quite enthusiastic about the prospect of actually killing other human beings. And so this is the world that we are living in. But nonetheless, the point here that I was just trying to bring across there is that I really work with different people from different walks of life. I might not be charismatic. I might not have all this fancy whatevers that your typical spiritual person is supposed to have. I'm literally an ordinary human being, and that's how I prefer to keep myself. But I have been so blessed to, be able to serve God in this way. And so, with all the many people that I deal with, and from literally different parts of the world, right? Some of them, or many of them, actually have come to me and have expressed concerns as well with regards to whether or not God might be angry at them. People would be concerned that God might be angry at them because perhaps there are certain things that are going wrong in their lives. Relationships are falling apart. Perhaps, their finances are falling apart. Perhaps things are just not going as smoothly as they expected them to be at a particular point in time. And how many of you have been to spiritual practitioners? I know here in Africa, we have our own traditional spiritual practitioners. And many a times when people go and, visit these people, what often happens there is that they are told by the spiritual practitioner that the ancestors are angry at you, and they'd be very, perplexed, they'd be worried, they'd be traumatized to a certain extent because who wants to make God angry, and um, or who wants to make the ancestors angry or any exalted being. So, and when they come to me, I have to do the work of correcting that distortion, because as far as I understand, and my very own initiations have never taught me that God gets angry at a human being, at his own children. I understand that this message here is for the real human beings. This message is not for the narcissists. This message is not for those that have no empathy, no conscience. And I understand that there are other people apart from narcissists or dark personalities that might struggle with empathy. For example, people who have autism and things like that. But these are not the people that I'm talking about, because you find that people with autism, they are so different from narcissists. Yes, there can be narcissists that have autism, but there are many people that have autism that are not necessarily narcissistic. And majority of the time, those people that have autism and are not narcissistic are really that channel through which God is also coming into the world. You understand? So those can still be very high vibrational frequency beings. So I'm not really talking about them here. I'm talking about people who are just malevolent in nature, who delight in harming other people. So if you are that person, this message is not for you. You understand? This message is certainly not for you. This message is for real human beings, people who have empathy. This message is for chosen ones, empaths, children of God. This message is for light workers, star seeds, seekers and lovers of truth. All right. So God is not angry with you. God is not angry with you because God understands what you are going through. Pardon me, in this world. All right. God understands that the structure of this world has been designed and set up to disconnect people from their authentic nature. This world has been designed to unplug you from your true self and to plug you into the dark narcissistic matrix. Of course, so that it can feed off of you. Because this system, the system of this world, is parasitic in nature. And so a lot of people, and here we're still talking about the real human beings, a lot of people that are walking on this planet find themselves so disconnected from themselves and from God and from exalted beings. They are angelic guides, they are the guardian angels, they are spirit guides, any exalted being that is meant to be supporting and helping them. A lot of people find themselves disconnected from that because of this dark narcissistic matrix, the way that it's structured, the way that it's designed. Everything about it is designed to keep you away from yourself. Because how can a narcissistic entity, how can a narcissistic being feed off of you if you are a real, integrated, authentic human being? It cannot. It can only feed off of you if you are bleeding psychically. All right. So it needs to break you, it needs to harm you so that then you can psychically bleed, and then you'd hear things like, you they would say you have weak boundaries, or you have an energy leak, things like that. Those are the things that are orchestrated by the narcissistic dark matrix to make sure that people don't find themselves experiencing that higher vibrational frequency that they ought to be experiencing, which naturally protects them from being fed upon by vampiric entities, which, of course, they are one and the same thing with regards to they are the same thing as the dark narcissistic matrix. So whenever it is that you encounter a narcissist, you are really encountering the narcissistic dark matrix. And this is not to cause alarm, because at the end of the day, God is greater, bigger, better, more powerful than narcissistic than the narcissistic dark matrix and narcissistic human beings. All right, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it looks on the outside. It doesn't matter how it feels. It doesn't matter how. we need to understand something. No one can put up a show like a narcissist can. If there's one thing that the latest unfold unfoldment of things in the political arena has taught me, is how that narcissists can really put up a show. And if you've been following my live streams over the past few days, you would know that, of course, at the moment, I see the narcissistic spirit, which is part of the narcissistic dark matrix, work very strongly through the left hand side of American politics. And this left hand side is a representative of the demonic spirit that is controlling, that is destroying and ravaging countries all over the world. This is a tyrannical narcissistic spirit. And so, this very same spirit that is doing what it's doing to America is the very same spirit that you're dealing with whenever it is that you're dealing with a narcissist. And they operate exactly the same way. They do the same thing. So one of the things that the narcissist would do, or let me just list, a few of them. So the first thing that they would do is give you an impression that whatever it is that they are doing is working. So they'll give you an impression that going against God is working. They'd give you an impression that, because they are in opposition to God. And so they would give you an impression that they are in a good place wherever it is that they are, whatever it is that they are doing, which is, a rebellion to God. They would give you an impression that it's working. And they would also gaslight you, of course, to give you the impression that they are not really working against God. You know, they would gaslight you to try and convince you that they are actually working on the side of God. And then, to further gaslight you, they will recruit people. You understand? So they will recruit people. So here on social media, what they will often do is, create a whole lot of, um, some of them even buy likes, isn't it? They purchase likes, they purchase followers, and so they create the illusion that they've got a whole lot of support from the world, from life, from God, from anyone and everyone. They've got everything backing them up with regards to whatever it is that they are doing, so that you can really see that, you see, because this person, this being, this narcissistic entity, this narcissistic institution, this narcissistic force, because it has such a huge momentum of support, that means it's on the right side. That means, it's perhaps, if you can see that it's an evil force, then you might be convinced that, it's more powerful than God. And then if you are somehow deceived that, okay, maybe it's a neutral force or whatever, then you might be deceived to believe that, oh, actually, God might be blessing it. Why? Because it has all these, numbers working on its side. So it creates an illusion of support. That's how it operates. And then it uses that illusion of support to manipulate people, to manipulate those who are in opposition to it. Right? So the reason why I'm saying that is to just remind you that a lot of things that you see, how things appear on the outside, how things look and feel, is not always the true reality of the situation. Majority of the time, you are looking at a house of cards. Majority of the time, all these things that seem to be working, all, many of them, for example, going back to, that the left hand side of American politics, that group of people, when you look at them, they seem to be, united. They seem to be getting along. Things seem to be, they seem to be a formidable force, isn't it? But if you look behind the scenes, what you might find is a whole lot of war, a whole lot of factions, a whole lot of division. You understand? So the narcissistic dark matrix is very good at giving you the impression that things are unfolding one way, when in true reality, they're actually unfolding in another way. When, certain powerful institutions and powerful empires, when they fell, majority of the time, it looked as if that collapse would never ever arrive. All right. Just before the fall, they seem to be so powerful, so invincible. And then you know, at just a snap of a finger, everything just collapsed. All right. So this is what you are dealing with when you're dealing with a narcissistic force, a narcissistic entity, narcissistic people. You are dealing with masters of illusion. All that they do is convince people that they are powerful, they are amazing, they are, invincible, as I said. But in true reality, they are powerless. In true reality, they are not a match for God. At the end of the day, these are created entities, these are created beings. All right. So they are not greater than God, they are not more powerful than God. All right. God might let them do whatever it is, continue with their little illusory shows for a little while, for whatever reason that God might see it fit. But understand this, they are not more powerful than God. They are not bigger than God. And another illusion that the narcissistic stream of consciousness likes to, create is one that says God is angry at you. Right? So they want you to believe that God is angry at you. They want you to believe that God is happy with them and he is angry with you. You understand? So that's another illusion. And this is why I'm doing this video, to say to you, child of God, God is not angry at you. It's a lie. All right. It's an absolute lie. So I've already touched on the fact that it's them that are angry at you, but I'll go a little bit deeper as we go along as to, why is it that they are angry at you, and why is it that they need to convince you that God is angry at you. So this narcissistic dark matrix, it disconnects people from themselves, isn't it? And so that disconnection makes you feel like there's something wrong with you. And when you feel like there's something wrong with you, this is exactly where the devil and, his cohorts, his minions, the narcissist, this is where they want you to be. They want you to believe that something is wrong with you. They want you to believe that the ancestors are angry at you, that your guides are angry with you, your guardian angels are angry with you, God is angry with you. They want you to believe that, because then when you believe that, then it's easier for them to manipulate you with whatever solution that they want to propose to you. And usually that solution, once again, it's not for your benefit, it is for the benefit of the narcissistic dark matrix. That solution usually breaks you even further. You understand? So you are already broken by the disconnection that is created by this world. And then the solution that is being provided to you, it breaks you even further. All right. Let me just try and see if I can give you an example of how this world disconnects you from your true self. All right. So this world does not, align with nature. This is an example of how it disconnects it disconnects you from your true nature and from God and from. So nature is connected to God, right? Nature is connected to authentic, true reality. And so we have the moon, which, the moon and the sun. And the aim and purpose of the moon and the sun is to help us to be able to align to, times and seasons, isn't it? To understand and to align to times and seasons. So we all know there's a time to sow, there's a time to reap, there's a time to work, there's a time to rest, there's a time to do certain things, and there's a time to not do certain things. And nature tells us that. This world does not respect that aspect of nature. And I'm not saying that, everything should collapse and everything should fall apart and we should all now suddenly just start operating in a particular way and in a very rigid way. I'm sure there's a way to negotiate with nature in a way that is still benevolent. But this world completely disregards nature. All right, so that's what I'm referring to. So that disconnection from nature, that means that, there are certain times when there are certain processes that you are supposed to be, participating in. And you are not even aware that you're supposed to be participating in those things. There's a reason why, we have winter, summer, autumn, and spring. There's a reason why we have the full moon, the half moon, the waning moon, the waxing moon, all of those things, the new moon, and there's a reason why we have all of that. You understand? So there are certain things that are supposed to be happening at certain times, and majority of the time they are not happening, with us as human beings, because there is another system that is at work in the world that we are forced or compelled, we have been born into it, and therefore we need to adhere to it. All right. So not everyone perhaps needs to adhere to that and so on, but I really believe that a whole lot of human beings need to really be aligned with nature, because when you are not aligned with nature, that creates a discord within you as a human being. You are part of nature. You understand? And so being part of nature, it's necessary for you to work hand in hand with nature. And like I say, perhaps there can be certain things where you negotiate, you bend things a little bit here and there, but to the most part, you need to work and operate in harmony with nature. This world does not do that. And so that discord that you are feeling as a result of the disconnection, and this is just one example. There are many things, many examples. I'll give you another example, music. But before I, talk about music, let me just finalize this one. So as part of nature yourself, you are a walking, talking tree. That's really who you are. And so because you are part of nature, when you are disconnected from nature, misaligned with nature, that creates discord. That can also create illnesses, that creates mental, anguish, mental, disorders, problems in the mind, in the psyche, and so on. And so when you are experiencing that, and then you find yourself in a situation where you are speaking to certain people, and they are of a particular stream of consciousness, they might tell you that God is angry at you, when all God is actually asking you to do is come back home to yourself, come home to the presence of the all isness, come home to that unfoldment of love that God is. All right. So what I was saying with regards to music is that, another thing that we are witnessing there is the fact that, music is is a form of transport, is a form of spiritual transport. Music is the language of God. Sound is the language of God. And with that being the case, that means, God is constantly communicating to us through music, and we too are communicating with God through music. So music helps to, bring us into that state, into that place where it's easier to commune with the divine. Music, the purpose of music, the original purpose of music has always been to uplift the spirit. However, with the the current structure of the narcissistic dark matrix, music is no longer serving that purpose. Music is one of the most divine and most holy things you come across in this world. But because of the narcissistic dark matrix, music has been turned around to serve a completely different purpose, to do, something else. Music is now used as something that is meant to, you know, serve the purpose of seduction. Music is now being that all of that creates, discord within you. It creates misalignment within you. So you might listen to a track to music and it might be nice, it might be great. I'm not saying, all music that's not of a particular frequency should be, completely thrown away and all of that. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that as long as that music is not of a high vibrational frequency, the reality of the matter is that you might feel good, when you listen to the words. You might feel good when you listen to the sound. It might make you dance and it might be great and everything. But with regards to your psyche, it's not producing the long lasting beneficial um, you know impact that you need. You understand? So you're feeling great, you're feeling better, but you're not, feeling closer. You're not feeling more connected to God. And the thing is, this with regards to connection to God, the more you're connected to God, the more you're connected to yourself. Just like the more you're connected to yourself, the more you are connected to God. But of course, when we say yourself, we're talking about your true, authentic self, not necessarily the self that is the persona that has been designed or that has been, um, you know, put together by this dark matrix. Because m- many of us have had to let go of that one, the self that has been created by the narcissistic dark matrix. So that's not what I'm talking about. So those are the things that happen that end up creating a discord within the human being. So that's why you feel like there's something wrong, and it's easy for you to misinterpret that into God is angry with you. So into that notion. All right. So I'm here to correct that false narrative, that distortion with regards to God is angry with you. Unless you are of the Antichrist stream of consciousness, then God is not angry with you. All right. Unless you are of the Antichrist stream of consciousness, there's no way that God will be angry at you. God loves you. God is angry with you. God wants you to come home. God understands why it is that you have been, led astray. God understands that. All right. So that's what's going on there. Unless you're the Antichrist, unless you're of the Antichrist stream of consciousness, unless you're a dark personality, unless there's something deeply, deeply wrong with you with regards to malevolence, then unless that's the case, then God is not angry with you. If you're a normal human being, God is not waging any war against you. You know? So God knows that we live in an upside down world where truth is stranger than fiction. God knows that humanity has been brainwashed to reject and ignore their true nature. God knows that. God understands that. So God is not busy trying to punish you for things that He understands that you have had little to no control over. All right. God is not saying it's okay for you to stay to stay that way. God is not saying, there are no consequences for that. That's not what God is saying. God is saying He understands, He knows, He sees what you are having to deal with. You understand? And He is constantly calling you back into His fold. God knows humanity has been brainwashed to reject and ignore their true nature. God knows the battle that comes with re-establishing connection to your true nature as well. Most people subconsciously, unconsciously are afraid to reconnect with their true selves. Because once again, the narcissistic dark matrix and narcissists in general have painted this thing of seeking God to be something very horrible. Most narcissists have infiltrated, religious spaces to the extent where most people have run away from, religion. Most people have run away from God. Most people have become atheists. Most people have literally, it's like God's children are the sheep that has now been literally scattered all over the world. And all of this is because of the narcissists that, infiltrate the spaces where God's children are supposed to find a home in this world, in the physical. For example, God's children are supposed to find a home in churches. God's children are supposed to find a home in spiritual settings, in religion, isn't it? And religion was never meant to be something that is a tool of control, a tool that is used to judge people who don't see things the way that you see them. And all of that is the narcissistic infiltration. And God understands. God understands. So if you have become atheistic or whatever it is that you could be dealing with, God understands why it is that you are there. You understand? God knows. God sees everything. So he is not angry. He is not angry. He knows the attack that you have to face. You know, he knows your strengths, how your strengths and weaknesses are used against you. And also going back to that point that I was trying to make, that that speaks to the subconscious aspects of things, the unconscious aspects of things. So most people are afraid to connect with God because, you know, in this upside down world, if you're going to try and connect with God for real, you are going to struggle, because how many people have gone to churches, and this is not me bashing churches, I'm sure there might be one or two good churches out there, but let's face it, a whole lot of them are unsafe spaces for children of God. A whole lot of spiritual places have become the habitat of demonic entities. All right. And so, you know, many people go there seeking God, but instead of finding God, what they find is a glorified social network, isn't it? Another thing that is used by narcissists within that space to basically give themselves a good label of being pious, a good image of being religious, of being principled, or, of being God fearing, when we all know the reality is far from that. And in that space where they are able to have this wonderful image of being pious, of being God fearing, of being amazing, they are busy abusing people. All right, they are busy destroying lives, they are busy breaking homes, they are busy just causing havoc there. So a child of God that finds themselves in that space ends up having to, withdraw from that. And when you don't understand narcissism, it's very easy to confuse all the horrors that happen in such spaces with God, to say that perhaps God doesn't exist, or perhaps this is not God. Or sometimes these people in that space can very well convince you that God is angry at you. You know, so they will be unleashing whatever darkness that is within them, because let's not make a mistake about this. Narcissists are very angry people. Narcissists are dark spirits. So they are constantly wanting, constantly willing, ready to unleash their anger, their venom on other human beings. You understand? And so many times you have narcissists who are in positions of prophets, narcissists in positions of, pastor, priest, shaman, guru. You have narcissists in very prominent spiritual positions, because, you know, they can still have gifts. You know, when it comes to clairvoyance, anyone can get that gift. Do you understand? That the gift of clairvoyance is a gift that you don't need to have a conscience to have the gift of clairvoyance. You don't need to have empathy to have the gift of clairvoyance. You don't need to be a good human being to have the gift of clairvoyance. Anyone can have the gift of clairvoyance. And when you have the gift of clairvoyance, that means you can really occupy the office of a prophet. So we have many narcissists roaming around the world wearing whatever clothes that they are wearing that have to do with whatever spiritual practice that they are supposedly part of. But make no mistake about it, majority of the time, when you, not even majority of the time, as long as you are dealing with a narcissistic person, it does, whether they are wearing a white cloth, whether they are wearing a cloth that has the leopard print on it, whether it's a red cloth or it's a yellow cloth, or a blue one or a blue and white one, it doesn't matter what color is the cloth that they are wearing, as long as you are dealing with a narcissist. You are dealing with a demon possessed human being. If you are not dealing with a fallen angel or a demon themselves, you understand? So that's what you are dealing with. And so you are dealing with someone that is not there for your benefit or the benefit of anyone. Right? So this person will definitely need to, you know, manipulate you. They will need to control. So they will tell you all these things that will be very convincing. So you believe that just because someone has a spiritual gift, that means God is working through them. That's another thing that is upside down about this world, because this world has conditioned human beings to believe that just because someone has a spiritual gift, that means that that person is of God. What a big mistake. All right. So, and then you believe that, oh, it's God that's talking, and this person is telling you that God is angry at you for not doing this and this and that, or God is angry at you for doing this and this and this and that. You understand? Meanwhile, God is really, all God is ever doing is calling you back to Himself, calling you back home. And when you come home to God, you are coming home to yourself, right? And I know there might be people that says, "Oh, you shouldn't focus on yourself. That is narcissistic. That is demonic, and all of that." That's another thing that is upside down about this world. That's another thing that narcissists want you to believe. There are so many things in this world that are a distortion. It's not even funny. That's why wise people will always say we're living in a world where truth is stranger than fiction. Growing up as a child, and this is so interesting. Growing up as a child, I've always taken a keen interest to people that live a life of solitude. I could never understand. Like, there was always something that was drew me to such kind of people, and I didn't know what it was, but I was always, you know, like curious to understand. And so my family could see that, and they understood that there was something that I was trying to draw or get there. So they would let me, and I would go to these people, and I would sit with, and I understand, this day and age, such kind of things may not necessarily be safe and all of that, but when I grew up, I grew up in a very safe world. Isn't it interesting that in our generation, the world has turned so upside down that crime has been normalized. Everyone is now living in fear. But that's not how we were living when we were still growing up. So they would let me, sit with these people that are um, hermits, if you would call them that. And I would sit and I would just be, you know, trying to study them, trying to understand as a child, 3 years old, not 3 years old, 5 years old, somewhere there. And little did I know that this was my direction. All right. Little did I know that this is what God wanted to do with me. And one of the things that, struck me, or that would strike me about such people as a child, is how that everyone would look at people who live lives of hermits, lives of solitude. They would look at them as if there's something wrong with them. All right. And that I know, now that I've grown up, now that I'm wiser and older, I understand very well that people who actually withdraw, people who actually keep themselves to themselves, are wiser than those who are always out there. And if you know, of course, narcissists like to always be there. They always like to be among the people. They always want to be around. Not every narcissist, not everyone who wants to always be around people is a narcissist, but narcissists love to do that, isn't it? Narcissists want to always be around people. They always, because what? They're always draining people's energies, isn't it? They're always stealing people's energies. So they always want to be around people. And so now people who actually like to withdraw themselves are people who like to manage their energies. Right? It's people who like to actually, not always be giving themselves away. And of course, you know that as an empath, you're always giving yourself away. That's a natural thing because you are connected to all that is. So you always, pouring off yourself to those around you because naturally you are loving. Naturally you are love. You understand? So um that's just how upside down this world is. I was watching this video the other day by this lady called Narcissistic Mom. It's here on YouTube, and that lady is a narcissist. Okay, in my assessment. All right, this is not a diagnosis, but this is my assessment. And many people are commenting about it because I think she's going viral or something like that. So the way that I see the situation, this lady opened a YouTube channel because her daughter has a channel as well. I'm not sure if it's a YouTube channel or if it's another social media platform channel, but she has a channel. And so that channel, that daughter basically, I'm not sure what exactly is it that she's doing there, but from time to time she talks about her story, her experience with her mom. So this daughter has basically cut her mom off. All right, so she has gone no contact with her mother. And so having had gone no contact with a mother, um, she she sometimes, shares that with people. And so this narcissistic mother decided that she's going to open a channel, and this channel is going to be for parents who have been ostracized by their children. There's that victim stance. All right. So, and then it's, the channel is about how that, um, this is some of the things that she says on the channel. Social media has, people have so much access to information these days, and now everyone is crying foul, making, basically everyone is always complaining, making a big fuss about boundaries. All right. Everyone is constantly making a big fuss about boundaries. Now everyone is applying boundaries to everyone. And because of those boundaries, now we can't have healthy relationships. Can you believe it? Of course, I'm probably butchering some of the things but something along those lines. I forgot it's what quoting her in the. So, but this is pretty much what she was saying. To sum it up, what she was saying is that having boundaries is destroying relationships, because now her daughter doesn't want to speak to her anymore, and it's all because of all this information that is being spread here in social media or on social media. And because of all this information about boundaries, about all of that, now she doesn't have a relationship with her daughter. All right. So this is the world. This woman is an absolute representation of the world that we've been living in this whole time, before we had access to all this information, before the great awakening occurred. It was always all about how that, everyone basically was always compelled to see things the way the narcissist sees them. Because remember, if you don't see things the way the narcissist wants you to see them, there's something wrong with you, isn't it? So everyone must just be together, according to the narcissist. Everyone must always be together. People should not have limits. Basically, every time the narcissist wants access to you, they should always have access to you. Every time the narcissist wants what's yours, they should have access to that. You should not deny the narcissist. Every time the narcissist harms you in any way, you should not call him or her to account. Yes, that's how upside down the world is. So, according to narcissists, everyone should be extroverts, isn't it? Everyone should always be out there, out and about. Everyone should always be doing things. According to the narcissist, everyone should be in each other's business. The narcissist should be in your business. The narcissist should know every single thing that is happening with you. You understand? That's that upside down world. And the narcissist has, created this thing so nicely that, there's a whole lot of manipulation in the minds of many people, such that naturally, like, a lot of people that I deal with are people that have spiritual calling. And if you have a spiritual calling, you have to know how to live a life of solitude. Because there's no way that the guides are going to speak to you. There's no way that God is going to speak to you if you are constantly in the company of low vibrational frequency people. And let's face it, a lot of people that are walking this planet are vibrating at a very low vibrational frequency. So to be able to hear from the higher forces, you need to set yourself apart. But the way that the narcissistic stream of consciousness has set things up is such that people who are hermits, people who withdraw, people who are introverted, they are supposed to be seen as if there's something wrong with them. You understand? So that's another thing, another element to the upside down nature of this world. You understand? So now people who are actually doing the right thing, because those people, the more you are quiet, the more you spend time alone, the more you are hearing from God, the more you are seeing everything that's wrong with you for real, not the stuff that is being projected on you, things that need to be worked out. And the more you're creating space for God to refine you the way that He needs to refine you, you understand? That's what happens when you spend time, to yourself. However, that's not what the narcissist wants to happen. And so now, people who are introverted, there's something wrong with them. Do you see how upside down that is? So, people who stand up to narcissists in this world are often treated as people who are rebellious, people who are problematic, people who are troublemakers, isn't it? Going back to those American politics once again. Um, Donald Trump is trying to stop war, all over the world. That's one of the things that he's trying to do. he's also trying to get rid of the deep state. And here we're talking about very dangerous, very big, very powerful forces. So he's trying to get rid of all of that. But isn't a pig that is being created for the rest of the world one that says that he's the tyrant, he's the problem, he's the one that wants war? You understand? So that's the upside down nature of this whole thing. All right. So um, all of that is a distortion that has been created by the narcissistic dark matrix and the narcissist. And we are so grateful because, once again, we are at that juncture in life, in our spiritual, in our human evolution, isn't it? It's our spiritual evolution. So please don't think of Darwin when I'm talking about evolution. I'm talking about our spiritual evolution, the journey that we are here on as the divine human spirit, in Christ, through Christ. And so all of that, being said, it's like we are dealing with that situation where to do what is right somehow in this world comes across as if you are doing what is wrong. All right. And I promise you, the narcissistic dark matrix knows how to set you up so that you can definitely look like you are wrong in your pursuit of God, in your pursuit of truth, in your pursuit of what is good. And it will gaslight you so that it looks like indeed what you are doing is wrong. You are not really pursuing God. All right. So, but God is not angry at you. All right. God is not angry at you. God is benevolent towards you. And how you know you are not really dealing with a godly being is when things like anger at you, becomes a thing. Understand this, God is not going to get angry at you and be attacking you and lashing at you as his child. You understand? Let's look at that parable of the prodigal son. Okay, the prodigal son literally said, "You know what, God, did? Give me my inheritance. Give me all that money. I'm out of here. All right, I'm just out of here. I'm going to go there and do my own thing." Right? And then when things fell apart for that prodigal son, what happened? He went back home. And what happened when he got back home? His father still saw him as his own child, still loved him, still, embraced him, threw a feast for him. All right. So God wants us to come home because he understands that we have been deceived. We have been led astray by this narcissistic dark spirit that operates in this world. And I was saying, I'm so grateful, for Christ because, the light is shining so bright. We are at that point where we are able to see the difference between light and darkness. Because right now, the narcissistic dark matrix, as much as it's aware that we are now, our eyes are being opened to see the darkness that has been prevailing all along. Now it's trying to create this thing whereby we need to see evil in every single thing that we are looking at. We are now supposed to be seeing that every single person out there, every single thing out there is evil, isn't it? But in true reality, the only thing that is evil is the narcissist and the system that it has created in this world. One narcissist, two narcissists, three narcissists, 10 narcissists all over the world. They form a narcissistic dark matrix, a grid of an antichrist stream of consciousness. That's what they do. But with that being the case, it doesn't mean that's all there is to the situation. We have narcissists and we are aware of them now. Now we know that there are such people as narcissists, right? In the same breath, we can know that there are such people as empaths, all right? There is a complete opposite of that stream of consciousness that exists in this world. There are false human beings, the narcissists. There are real human beings, people that have empathy in them. You understand? People that care about the well-being of humanity. You understand? So each time you come across someone that is so angry at you and they are trying to condemn you and they're trying to judge you, you know that's not coming from God. You understand? That is not coming from God because God is not trying to judge and condemn you. For what reason? God wants you to come home. The one who wants to judge and condemn you and mistreat you and do all sorts of, cast you away, throw you off and do all sorts of, that's the narcissistic dark matrix. That's the satanic stream of consciousness. You understand? So when God is trying to correct you, God is not trying to punish you by correcting you. You understand? Like trying to judge you and condemn you and all of that. When God corrects you, what He does is that, whenever it is that you go out of alignment with God, there's constantly a voice. There's always a voice. God is always talking to you. There's always that voice from God that says, "Come home." You know, don't go there. Don't do this. Do this, do this. There's always that soft, subtle voice, that nudging of the Holy Spirit, right? There's always that nudging of the Spirit of God that is communicating with you. And then at first, they will often say, even those, mainstream media gurus, they will put it this way, and that's accurate. At first, the voice is subtle. And then when you don't listen to it, that voice gets a little bit louder. All right, so it speaks through that subtle voice. Sometimes it even speaks through dreams. Sometimes it speaks through, life experiences. And then when you don't listen to it, it gets a little bit louder. And then when you still ignore it, it gets even more louder. You understand? So, and this become, experiences that you are having. So, whenever it is that things are falling apart in your life, the first thing or the first conclusion that you want to run to is not one that says, "I'm here because God is angry at me." You might want to ask God, "What is it that I need to do to come out of this situation? What lesson am I needing to learn from this experience?" Right? How did I end up here? And how can I, perhaps make sure that I don't get into this particular situation again? You understand? But be open to see what it is that you need to see in that situation rather than see yourself as this horrible person that God is angry with. Okay? Because God is not angry at you, God is trying to bring you home. Okay? God knows you're constantly being set up to fail. God knows you're constantly being set up to self sabotage. He knows that your supernatural abilities have been constantly are being constantly suppressed, by the low vibrational frequency sounds in this world, the low vibrational frequency technology of this world, the low vibrational frequency nature of how this world operates, isn't it? Like now you can't survive, you can't exist if you are not, doing certain things. And sometimes, even whatever it is that you do, even if you do everything that's right according to the system of this world, you still find yourself suffering, isn't it? God is aware of that. God knows that you are constantly being gaslit about all the horrors that are happening in this world. And, the horrors that have been normalized. God is aware of that. And with all of that being said, how can God be angry with you? How can any exalted being be angry with you when they know and understand what it's like to be? The reason why a Christed being, Christ, God Himself, had to embody this physical form was so that He, as God, can get to experience every single thing, every single limitation that a human being deals with. All right. So that, whenever it is that He looks at us and sees us going astray, then that mercy comes through. That grace comes through. All right. And so God is not angry with you. God is always trying to lift us to a higher vibrational frequency, a higher sound, a higher octave. And if you are a real human being, this is inherently your desire. If you're a real human being, you are looking for that higher octave. Chances are, if you're a real human being, you understand very well that you need money, but money is not what you are looking for. Money is not what you are chasing after. You are aware that money is important, but money is not your identity. You are aware of that. You are looking for God. You are seeking God. You are seeking peace. You are seeking integration. You are seeking wholeness for your soul. All right. If you're an empath, if you're a seeker and a lover of truth, if you're a star seed, if you're a chosen one, if you're a light worker, naturally you are seeking this higher state of existence to the point where, this world can even be a little bit, frustrating to you, isn't it? Because it's like, oh my word, every day of my life, I have to be chasing all this, you know, things that are not really edifying me. These things are not leading me closer to God. These things are not contributing towards my spiritual growth. These things are not, bringing peace into my soul. How on earth am I going to be busy chasing after all these things all my life? Meanwhile, they're not even bringing what they're supposed to be bringing or what I'm really looking for. Okay, so it's because it's within you to seek after he who has created you. That's how God has designed us as human beings. God is not angry with you. God wants you to experience a higher state of being. What is this higher state of being? It's an inner state of peace, of joy. It's a state of having arrived in your heart where your body is yet to reach. All right, where your body is yet to go. You having had already arrived within your heart. In Christian terms, this is called finding Christ. So when you find Christ, you find that you are in Him. He is in you. And in Him, you move and live and have your being. When you find Christ, you find that He is the all-isness. And it's not the all-isness of this world, but rather it's the all-isness of nature, of organic reality. All right. And that all-isness is where you come and you arrive. Now you're no longer searching for yourself in the external world. That's why, when you get to a certain level, I promise you, like, a lot of things of this world are no longer necessary to you. Like, they're no longer that important to you. All right. So you're no longer chasing the things of this world. You're no longer chasing after material wealth. You're no longer chasing after material possession. You're no longer chasing after, I don't know, approval, from external sources. You are no longer looking for your identity from relationships, right? So you're allowing yourself to be in harmony with life and with nature, but you are not finding your identity in those things. You understand? You have found Christ. Christ has become your everything, and you get there when you remove the distortions. To find Christ. I was your typical religious, rigid, born again, Bible demon kicking type of a Christian, right? I was that typical type of a Christian, at first, before I went through my initiation, before Christ took me through my initiation. So when I was, walking that path, I was still looking for Christ. I was a born again Christian for years, for about maybe 10 years or so, looking for Jesus Christ. I had found Jesus Christ according to, the church, because I was part of the church. So according to them, I had found Christ. But I knew I hadn't found Christ. And it hurt. You understand? Like, I was in pain. Like, every single day I was in pain because I hadn't found Christ. I had found a church. I had found a glorified social network. I had found a group of people that I can hang out with, have conversations with, so-called like-minded people to a certain extent. We talk about the Bible and all of that. But I hadn't found Christ. It was only when I found Christ that I understood what it means to have Christ. And therefore, Christ is not something that another human being can give you. Christ is something that Christ has to reveal himself to you. And like I say, the word Christ will be, Christ has different names according to different religions and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to go there, and I'm not going to get into those semantics where then we start fighting about, what religion is better than what religion, whose God is better than whose God. One thing that I know for a fact is that if you're an empath, if you're a human being, if you're a child of God, Christ knows how to reveal himself to you. And when you find Christ, you're not going to get confused and wonder, have I found him or not? You will know you have arrived. You will know that you have arrived at your ultimate destination. Right? And so that's what happens. Christ has to reveal himself to you. And so, the pilgrimage in that process has to do with removing the distortions, you know. So the journey is an inward one instead of an external one. You are going inside and removing the layers and layers of distortions within your psyche, the lies that have been, you know, imprinted into your psyche by narcissists in your world, narcissists within the narcissistic dark matrix. You know, the lies that have to do with who you are, you know, why it is that you are here. Are you here to just be a person and just do the things that are being done here and that's over and done with? Or are you, you know, more than that, you know? So, and then so you heal what hurts, you heal the things that hurt, you heal the heartbreaks, the traumas, you know, the upside down warped distorted programming of this narcissistic dark matrix within your psyche. You heal, you release those things. All right, so it's a somatic process that you go through. It has to do with embodiment, you as the divine human spirit embodying your body, the physical form, coming home into this physical form and no longer being exiled to it. And your spirit is one with the Spirit of God. The divine human spirit is one with the divine Spirit of God. And you might need to acknowledge, you know, your limitations, your shortcomings, your failures as a human being, and allow the Christ to be the one that radiates magnificently through you. You understand? Hence, in that whole thing of, you know, how people will say, accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. That might be something that gets to happen. And I don't know how different people, you know, different religions and different spiritual practices and groups do it, but there's always that, you know, phase, that experience that you have where you acknowledge this, you know, amazing thing that that is holding you, how God is holding you in his hand, and you allow yourself to be, you know, you surrender. That's what they would often even call it. You surrender, you allow him to carry you, you know, in his arms, you know, or on eagle's wings, some songs would even say. All right, so that's what happens there. Okay, so that's that inner state of. So when you come there, it's like, okay, you know, when you're dealing with narcissistic people or people that are still, you know, controlled by the narcissistic dark matrix, they look at things that are happening in your external world. You know, they look at your finances, perhaps. They say, this person has financial problems, maybe, or this person is not this and this and this and that. You know, maybe this person is a little bit chubby, like me. You know, or maybe this person is is not eloquent with regards to her speech, isn't it? So all of those things, they're supposed to imply or to mean that I haven't found Christ, or they're supposed to mean or imply that God can't possibly work through this person, because if God was working through this person, if God had really blessed this person, if God was really in this person's life, then they should be rich. You know, they should be very, very rich. If God, you know, loved this person, if God had blessed this person, then they should have at least, you know, 5,000 followers, isn't it? Or, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers. You know, that would be proof that God is working through this person, isn't it? That's another distortion. All right. Because once again, in an upside down world, things are, you know, truth is stranger than fiction. In true reality, in according to the standards and according to the system of this, I'm not saying you still cannot prosper, you still cannot do, you can still do amazing things, you know, as someone that God is working through and with and in. But majority of the time, or a whole lot of people in this world who are really serving God, are not the ones that are prospering. Okay, in this narcissistic dark matrix, majority of the time, money is not one that's going to, you know, be that mark that shows that God is, you know, blessing you or God is doing amazing things in your life. All right, can you get wealth in this world because of God, because of what God is doing in your life? Yes, you can. You still can get wealth. You can still be happy. You can still, you know, be successful. You can still experience a lot of wonderful things. But let that not be the determining factor of whether or not God is working through. Because many people miss out on good things. Monks, gurus, and very wise sages, priests, and all of that, like real, authentic people that really worship God in this world, are not people that are out for money. The most highest vibrational frequency beings in this world are actually people that are not really after money. They're not people that are financially well off. They're not people that, like really stand out in the crowd. People that are just like when you come across them, it's like, whoa, I could feel this. No, usually people that are really amazing are people that are just your ordinary, like when you come across them, you don't see anything extraordinary. I really believe that one of the reasons why they missed out on Christ, when he was walking this planet as a real human being, is because they expected him to be wearing a crown. They probably expected him to be driving some kind of a super powered, horse powered car. They probably expected him to be living in some kind of a castle. And because he didn't have any of those things, and they probably expected him to be born from some kind of, royal family or something along those lines. And because he didn't meet their expectations from a superficial perspective, they missed out on, a lot of good things. Okay. So God is not angry with you. Just because you are going through financial hardship, it doesn't mean that God is angry with you. Just because that relationship has fallen apart, it doesn't mean that God is angry with you. How do you know that God was actually protecting you? What if God was protecting you by ending that relationship? What if God was actually protecting you by taking away, whatever it is that you thought was your material prosperity? What if those things were actually destroying you? How do you know? What if God is giving you another opportunity to amass great wealth without destroying yourself? What if God is giving you another opportunity to do these things from a different direction, from a different perspective, a different angle, different level of maturity? Perhaps this time around, led by Him, if those are the things that you are after. You understand? So, God is not angry at you. When these things are happening to you, don't buy into the lie. When you deal with spiritual practitioners or whoever it is that you're dealing with, and then they tell you, no, the reason why these things are happening is because God is angry at you. Yes, it's possible that you could have missed the path somewhere, somehow. It's possible that somewhere, somehow, you could have gone astray. But definitely, God is not angry at you. All right. God is not angry. God is calling you back to Himself. All right. God is calling you back into the fold. God is more interested in your soul than in your material possessions. Because remember, we are, eternal beings. You understand? So this is a very short journey that we are on. And so everything that we accumulate in this world, we do not take with us when we move forward into the next world. When we move into the higher octaves, there's nothing that is material that we get to tag along with us. You understand? The only thing that we get to tag along is the spirit body, the spirit, the soul. That's the only thing that we get to, go with. You understand? So that's the only thing that God is also interested in. God, yes, can bless you, does want to bless you. If you want to do manifestations and law of attraction and all these wonderful things, prayers and, declarations and affirmations, yes, these things are beautiful. Do them. Why not? We have the power to do these things. However, let this not be the measure that gets to determine whether or not God is happy with you, God is blessing you or not. You understand? God is more interested in your soul. God is more interested in you entering into a state of peace, of joy within yourself. You understand, when you get to a point where your joy is no longer determined by external forces, that means no one can control you anymore. That means you are a threat to the narcissistic dark matrix, which brings us to, this point that I was trying to bring across earlier on when I was saying to you, understand this. Majority of the time, it's narcissists that are telling you that God is angry at you, that want you to believe that God is angry at you. And the reason why they want you to believe that God is angry at you is because they want to silence your voice. They want to stop you from shining your light. You understand? They want you to walk in shame. Okay? So they want you to feel horrible about yourself. They want to convince you that God is not doing something amazing and magnificent in your life. They want you to believe that God can still not do something amazing and great in your life, even whilst you are going through whatever it is that you are going through. You can still be going through hardship, and God can still be shining His light radiantly, brilliantly through you and in your life. You understand? So God is not angry at you. God is doing things behind the scenes, things that you might not necessarily be aware of. And sometimes you're not aware of those things for your own good, all right, for your own protection, because sometimes God needs to keep secrets from many of us, because majority of the time, you know, when God tells us things, we start proclaiming them to the narcissists out there, and they start knowing exactly how it is that they can sabotage us, isn't it? So when you are no longer determined, when your joy is no longer determined by external forces, then narcissists can't control you, and that's what they're afraid of. Okay, so they are afraid of you coming home to yourself. They are afraid of you stepping into this truth, this knowing that God's love is like a boat that is always carrying you through the storms. God's love is that enfolding arm, hand that's always covering you and shielding you from, the assaults of life. They do not want you to know that even in the midst of a very turbulent time in your life, God is still with you. God is still protecting you. They want you to believe that God is angry with you. Because when you shine your light, you are a threat to them. When you shine your light, you are a problem. You literally cause their narcissistic dark matrix to collapse. You understand? So they absolutely need to convince you that God is angry with you. All right. It's very quiet in here today. Very quiet in here. We're wrapping up now. God's mercies are abundant. All right. You might have done things that you are no longer proud of. Okay. Or that you are not proud of. I know one of the things that you go through as part of your initiation as a child of God is this phase where, because God loves us this much, all right? God loves us so much that He opens our eyes. So we don't only get to see the horrors that people are doing out there, but we also get to see our own horrors, isn't it? That's that empathy. That's what it does. And so when you see the things, the horrible things that you've done, the horrible things that you do, the horrible things that you're even capable of, that can shake you a little bit, isn't it? It's like, whoa, okay, I'm so horrible. Perhaps I'm the narcissist, and perhaps I deserve all those horrible things that are happening to me. God is not angry at you. God is aware of all of that. God is aware of your limitations, your shortcomings, and your failures, and all of those things. All right. God wants you to come home to yourself. God wants you to come home to Him. Okay. So forgive yourself. Forgive life. Literally, you just say, I forgive myself and I forgive life. All right. I forgive myself and I forgive life. Okay. If you have empathy and if you have it within yourself to actually feel guilt or remorse about anything that you might feel that you might have fallen short of, then you are in a good place. You are doing well for yourself. All right. This is a positive sign. It's a good sign. And it most certainly is a sign that God is not angry at you, because when God is angry at you, He stops talking to you. Do you understand that you stop feeling remorse? You lose the desire for Him. You lose the desire to seek Him. You understand? And I wouldn't even say that God would be angry at you. I would say you yourself would have removed yourself from God. You understand? So you lose that desire completely for God, for righteousness, for, you know, for integration, for joy, for peace. You lose all of that. Okay. But every time you find that urge within yourself nudging you back, you find yourself feeling some kind of a remorse or some kind of a desire for doing what's right, remorse for wrong, desire for right, you know that you are still in good terms with God, because it's God that makes you to have this desire. It's God that is propelling you in that direction. Okay. So let's just sum this up. When you speak to spiritual people and they tell you that God, angels, ancestors, any exalted being is angry with you, you must know that that's an error. Okay. They themselves are either narcissistic people or they have been indoctrinated along those lines. All right. You know, people want to project their anger, whatever it is that they feel. Many a times when people want to control you and they want you to do what they want you to do, they're going to, beat you down, isn't it? They're going to bash you so that you have no esteem within yourself left. Then it's easy for them to manipulate you. So um, don't buy into it. Don't buy into any story that says God is angry at you. I don't care who it's coming from. As long as you're still alive, as long as you still have that urge to want to do what's right, you are welcome to pray and ask God to help you to do what's right, to empower you in the right direction. All right. Ask God. His mercies are abundant. Okay. Ask help. Ask for help. And, you will be empowered to do the right thing and to also, get to that point where you are no longer feeling disconnected from Him. You're no longer feeling like He's angry at you. Okay. And you are at peace with yourself. All right. So that's number one. Number two, when things are falling apart in your life, this does not necessarily mean that God is angry with you. Sometimes things need to fall apart, for the right things to happen. When it's winter and the trees have lost their leaves, is it because God is angry at those trees? No, it's because it's winter. God is bringing new leaves. And so, because new leaves are supposed to be coming through, the old ones are being removed. Sometimes, as human beings, we go through those phases. Sometimes we go through winter as human beings. There's nothing wrong with that. But the upside down world will tell you that whenever it is that things are going wrong in your life is because God is angry at you. All right? God is not angry at you. When you realize that you've done that, this is number three. When you realize that you've done things that may not necessarily be, the best things that you could have done, made decisions that were not necessarily saving you or others, and you've made mistakes, you've fallen short in life. When you realize such things, remember, God is still not angry at you. God knows, God understands. God knows the programs that are running within you. All right. So God is not angry at you. God has not lost patience with you. All right. So you ask for forgiveness, you forgive yourself, you forgive life for setting you up in that direction. Because if you were to sit down, one of the most wonderful things that I'm so grateful for with regards to my initiations is how that you get an opportunity to see how that the human psyche is being fiddled with like business. So majority of the time people do things and they think they are making those decisions for themselves. They are the ones doing those things, but it's not them. It's dark forces of life doing those things through them. All right. It's the programs, it's the traumas, it's the, all of those things. And then number four, how you come back home to yourself to correct this feeling of there's something wrong with you, this feeling that you might be having of maybe God is angry at you, this feeling that says that, you've done something wrong or anything to that effect. How you come back, out of that, how you recover from that is that you do the healing and integration work. All right. You do healing and integration work. You heal and integrate. You you heal from, you allow yourself to do energy work with regards to heal, energy work is somatic work. It's the work of releasing the distorted energies within your psyche. And then it also has to do with releasing distorted psychic programs within your psyche as well. All right, so you do that work. And then usually there are spiritual practitioners that are trained in that direction. I'll still encourage you to, make sure that you find the right one, a genuine empath instead of these demonic narcissistic people, because you do not want to give demonic people access to your psyche, because these people can be very dangerous. All right, so you want to work with the right kind of people, but you do that work of healing and integration. So you are releasing the distortions, the lies, the clouds that are, blocking your light from the sun of who you are, from radiating brilliantly. All right, and then you also allow yourself to remember the truth of who you are. Remember integration, right? So the pieces of your soul that has been split asunder as a result of the traumas of this world, as a result of the distortions of this world, you allow yourself to get to a point where, your soul is now back home. Pieces of your souls have now come back home, and they are, put back together, and you are now whole. You are able to embody your body. You are no longer, out of, you're no longer absent with yourself, right? You are now present with yourself. You are now present with the present moment. You're present with life, but you are no longer having the kind of relationship that you were having with life. When you were out there, you were floating out here, you were not embodied. Usually, you want to control the world, and the world is controlling you. It's like it's a very upside down thing there, because you and the world have a very toxic relationship with each other, right? But once you become embodied, what happens is that you have come home to yourself. So you no longer need to participate in the madness of this world. So, like, when you notice the madness of this world going on, it might hurt you a little bit, it might do whatever, but you are able to heal, you are able to release all of that. So you are working with God, and you just don't play along anymore. Like, that toxic relationship with life no longer exists for you. Like, you're just not feeding into it, right? You are entering into peace, you are entering into joy, and it doesn't take much to please you anymore. Now you don't need all those things that you thought you needed to be. So this is why the world can no longer control you. You understand? Because now you don't need the things that you thought you needed anymore to be happy. Now literally you don't need a reason. Like, you can just wake up and be happy and remember, I've been looking for Christ all this time, for like however many decades I've been looking for Christ. Now I've found Christ. There are even songs like that. Like, I've been searching and searching, and I found him. Those kind of songs. We have them in my language here, or in some other vernacular type of languages there. So you are excited about it, because it's like, oh, okay. So are you telling me I never needed to do all of those things? Are you telling me all this trouble that I put myself through to actually get to that? I don't need to go through that anymore. Oh, wow, what a relief. Oh, this is a good enough reason to just be excited. Are you telling me all these traumas, all these things, all this brokenness, all these horrors that I've, inherited from this world? You telling me that they don't have to be my identity anymore? They don't have to determine my life, my destiny, or anything like that? Oh, this is a good enough reason for me to be happy. I understand. You're telling me that God is no longer angry with me. Oh, this is great. This is good news. Okay. So I'm going to be happy. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm just going to chill and enjoy my life. You're telling me that I don't need for things to be going smooth all the time to be happy. Oh, this is good. I can be happy. I can enjoy myself. All right. So this is not something that just happens from the mind, all right, where it's like, oh, you switch, you know, or something like that, and then automatically it's like that's how it's going. That's how you feel. That's what you think. No, you get to this point by doing the work. You're peeling layers upon layers upon layers of distortions. You're doing that healing and integration work, and then you get to that point where you are happy with yourself. It's like, people might look at you and think, oh, she has, oh, he has no reason to be happy because he doesn't have this and this and this and that. He has no reason to be happy because this and this and this and that is not happening. But it's them and their distortions and their conditioning Because if your conditioning is that if you have this type of a job, if you know live in this type of maybe what you call this area, maybe if you live in this particular space, if you hang out with this type of people, you know, if you, I don't know, just name it, you know, if you have this type of a relationship, if this and this and this is happening to you, then that's a reason for you to be happy. But now, is that how you want to live, where your happiness is determined by if certain things are happening? That is an external force controlling you. So, which means when those things are taken away from you, your joy gets to go away. So, how about you just be happy wherever you are with whatever it is that you have? You just allow yourself to be happy, and other people can say whatever it is that they want to say. They can see whatever it is that they want to see about you, but you can just be happy with yourself, be in a state of peace, be in a state of joy, and understand that Christ is not Christ. You don't buy Christ. You don't work to earn. You don't earn Christ. You understand? You can work out your salvation with fear and trembling. That means you make sure that you have those boundaries to protect yourself from those demonic narcissistic entities. You do that. Mara, you don't earn Christ's love. You don't earn joy. You don't earn peace. You don't earn happiness. It's natural. It's here. It's available. It's free. God is dishing it out everywhere. But who is willing to receive it? Very few are willing to go for it, because the narcissistic dark matrix has set things up so that if you were to go for that, if you were to go after God, half the time you end up having to lose a whole lot of things. All right. But as the Bible says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose the one thing that counts more than anything? Your soul. All right. So, majority of the time, you might need to seek first the kingdom of God so that all else can be brought to you. All right. So, that's all I needed to share with you for today. Soul Tribe, Soul Family. I've got a book. It's on Amazon. It's called Healing and Integration for the Wounded Soul. I don't know what happened there as I was busy, writing that book, because there are a few typos here and there that I picked up whenever it is that I read the book. And at this point in time, I'm not in a position to correct those typos, because I corrected them about 3 or 4 times and they still popped up. So at this point in time, it's like, okay, fine, let's just let it rest. I'll get back to it whenever it is that I have the time. But the message in that book, the gift that you will get, the blessing that you will get from that book. And this is not me doing that pastoring, when the pastor wants to take a whole lot of money from you, they'll tell you all about the blessings that will come. This is not me doing that. I'm just talking about, what I poured into that book there. All right. And of course, I do believe that, it was coming from God. There's so much gift, there's so much jewels that come from that book that you'll definitely draw from it, that the typos won't really make much of a difference. All right. It's a beautiful book, Healing and Integration for the Wounded Soul. All right. So this talks to exactly my message here, to say, yes, we've got this problematic thing called narcissism, and many of us who are spiritual, we are literally about 10 to 20 years ahead of our generation, isn't it? So many a times, the generation that would be existing in would not even understand or recognize the work that we are doing, what we are here to offer. But in good time, everyone will get to that point where they get to see what it is that was being planted. And so, Healing and Integration for the Wounded Soul is that book for today's soul, today's generation. Human beings are wounded right now, and things are so upside down, it's not even funny. And the book helps to put that into perspective. The fact that we are dealing with this narcissistic dark force that is like literally ravaging humanity, and then also we are having all these wounds that we have sustained, all the traumas that we have sustained from many, many, many generations, for many generations that have been existing in this world. We've inherited all of that, and we are at that point where, that boiling point. We are at, everything has, we are at that culmination of all these energies, and now all of them need to be, processed, need to be released, particularly the traumatic, the negative ones. So this book addresses all of that, and most importantly, it also gives you the tools, that I was just sharing now as well, with regards to how to heal and integrate. So it gives you that step by step direction. It, I think, in South African, in South African, what's the word? In South African terms, that book is probably 200 rands or somewhere there. Right? I hope it is. I really hope it is, because yeah, I think it is. It's about 200 rands. So that's that currency, that South African currency is about. So it's not a lot of money, okay? And 200 rands is way cheaper than if you were to do a healing session, because healing sessions are about maybe like 1,800 rands or something along those lines. But even the healing sessions themselves are still way cheaper than the process. And this is not me, beating down on psychology. Everyone, we should all, do therapy and all of those things, as long as it works, as long as it's good. You understand? But therapy is not for everyone. Let's just be honest about that. So, and the point is that um, therapy, you might spend about, tens of thousands of rands, you know, doing that day by day cognitive therapy thing, talk therapy, and all of that. And you might see results, you might experience results, but with my healing modality, and also, this is the healing modality that a lot of very powerful spiritual practitioners, some of them are my mentors, some of them are people that have contributed towards my initiation. They practice the very same type of modality. And with this modality, literally, you need about maybe 3 sessions, um, and you will begin to see the shift in your energy. So this modality does not promise you that, oh, you're going to be wealthy now, you're going to, have your this man or this woman that you've always wanted, now they're going to come to you and all of that. No, this modality doesn't promise any of those things. This modality is solely focused on your soul, on making sure that your soul is healed and integrated. And it does a whole lot of other magical things in your life as well, which you will see, yourself as you do that. But that's what it, so you don't need to be doing a lot of, you know, the reality is that the healing process is a lifelong thing. You understand? But what I'm saying is that with just 3 sessions, you usually can see massive changes, in your energy space, in your psyche, with regards to your peace, with regards to your joy, and so on and so forth. All right. So many a times, some of the illnesses that we are dealing with have to do with the traumas that we have sustained. The body is now experiencing those traumas, and it's manifesting as an illness. So when you do this energy work, some of these things go away. You understand? Some remain for whatever reason, because once again, there's so much that is so complicated about the spiritual journey. It's not even funny. Like the example that I gave, sometimes you need to go through winter. You need to be still and allow those leaves to be plucked off you, because there's something that God is doing there, so that when the summer comes, then you are sprouting up nicely. You understand? There are new leaves that are just popping up there. So there are certain things that happen. So, but the point that I'm trying to bring across there is that let's not allow ourselves to just, reach certain conclusions because of certain things that we are observing on the surface level. Just because you are sick, just because you are poor, just because your relationship is failing, or just because whatever it is that's negative is happening in your life, negative quote unquote, does not necessarily mean that God is angry at you. Does not necessarily mean that something bad is really happening there. Something that is perceived to be bad in this world could actually be something very good. Your life may be getting saved. You may be going through an upgrade. You understand? So there are so many things. So healing and integration for the wounded soul on Amazon. That's my book there. And then, if you type my name here, the one that's on this channel, that book will appear on Amazon. And then there's also a healing session that I've done. I've only done one so far. I'm working on others. I'm trying to do a course, several healing sessions, healing courses on Patreon. All right. So you'll still find me, same name that's on this channel. You'll still find me on Patreon there. And then so I've done, the first course that I've done is the one for abandonment and rejection wound. It focuses on the wound of abandonment and rejection. And the reason why the wound of abandonment and rejection is so important is precisely because the upside down nature of this narcissistic dark matrix and the narcissists that we come across in this world makes it such that you feel abandoned by God, you feel abandoned by life, and you reject yourself because you feel like there's something wrong with you. So the first thing that you need to address when you are healing and recovering from narcissistic abuse is to address the wound of abandonment and rejection, because also these two wounds are the wounds that narcissists hammer on you. All right. So they make you afraid to be alone. They cause you to be afraid of being alone. They also cause you to see yourself as defective. All right. So that's that one. That one is I think about 1,700 and something South African rands. I'm not sure. I think it's 70 something rands in some 70 something dollars. All right. So that's it. I'm working on others, other courses. I'll be aiding them as we go along. But you will still get, you make a huge leap with regards to your healing journey, especially if you've just broken up with a narcissist or you've just gone through that narcissistic discard. All right. So that's that. Let me see if there's anything else that I have forgotten or anything that I need to mention there. I think that's it. I think that's it. I think if there's anything that I can say in conclusion is to say that so there are so many good things that exist in this world. There is so much goodness. There is true organic reality that exists. All right. There are many people that I've seen, that I've witnessed, that have been through narcissistic abuse, that have dealt with narcissistic challenges in their lives, and they have come out on the other side, triumphantly, victoriously. All right. They have manifested amazing things for themselves and for their lives. You understand? So this whole narcissistic paradigm does not necessarily have to be, the end all be all for you or for anyone. You understand? So you can come out, people have come into, nice, new, wonderful, amazing relationships for themselves. People have manifested nice, great new businesses for themselves. People are doing amazing things. So for me personally, I'm, that hermit, because I'm here doing the foundational work. You understand? I'm busy doing these courses. I'm doing all this other. I'm going through my phase where I'm playing my part with regards to, healing humanity. So I'm not focusing on myself. I'm not focusing on, me manifesting this and this and that, or doing this and this and that, and all of those things at this point in time. What I'm working on is making sure that you get this information that you need to get. You get the healing that you need to get, the healing courses and all of those things. I'm availing myself to hold the space, and I promise you, this is not an easy position to occupy. All right, because all them demons that are busy harassing you, they also come at me as well, because I'm an obstacle for them reaching you. You understand? But don't worry about it. I'm working with them. I've got my guides as well that fight. They fight very hard. They don't play those ones. They fight. Okay. So, but I'm doing these things. I have set myself apart for this season to be able to focus on this, to make sure that humanity gets what it needs to get from me, because this is what I'm here for. This is what I'm here to do. All right. And so once that's done, let's see, what direction life takes us into. But this is where we are right now. Okay. So let's see if there's anything else that I need to say. I think that's that. Hey, thank you so much, Soul Tribe, Soul Family, for spending time with me on this transmission. Remember, conscious